last moment. So to cut the chase, I know that's not long, but the fact is that the appalling mismanagement of Labour over the last 3 years since the adults in New Zealand first left the room was laid bare in the preview on the 12th of September. That's a pre-election economic update. New Zealand First is fiscally realist. We're committed to making the first 14,000 tax-free, but this commitment cannot now happen until 1 April 26 at the earliest and 1 April 27 at the latest. Such is the deteriorated state of the nation's books, no party can look you in the eye seriously and say their tax cuts are affordable now. Look, the $14.6 billion package from the previous speaker is both not credible nor believable by any leading economist, and it is not reconcilable with its spending commitments. That's what being in government is meant to be about. No nation nor household can survive with far less money through the front door, but spending rocketing up and out the side door. That's voodoo economics. Meanwhile, another party's got a $38 billion, but no detail, reduction in government. A $38 billion with no detail reduction in government. And what does it mean to health, law and order, superannuities, families, and small business? Plus, we're going to go back to the Roger Douglas neoliberal sell off the country's assets strategy, which never worked anywhere in the whole world in 10,000 years of recorded managed political history. Another party's got 10 cents off a turnip. And frankly, we've learned this morning that they were told in April that the GST policy won't work, and that's why we've dropped it as well. Another two parties, one of which was here this morning, or this afternoon, has 1,000 ways to spend money, not one way to earn it. Now that's magical, and I'm an environmentalist. Good environmentalism is good economics. But 1,000 ways to spend money and not one way to make money is irresponsible in the extreme. We know the public want a tax cut after the last 3 years, of hard labour. As a senator in the United States many years ago said about tax reform, don't tax you, don't tax me, tax that man behind a tree. And here they are right now, all out there, before the preview came out telling you what they're going to do. When it came out, the news was different, but didn't change their plans at all, did they? No, just stuck to their guns. Look, political parties cannot proceed sailing on ignoring the fiscal torpedoes, no matter what the cost. They're all promising you jam when there is no bread. Look, in 2020, when New Zealand First was at the cabinet table, Grant Robinson projected that in 2024, government spending would be $144 billion. In the preview, on the 12th of September, that rocketed up to $177 billion. That's $33 billion more in 164 days of hard labour between the preview 2020 and 23 when they were governing by themselves. That means Labour's planned spending has increased by 22,000 every minute of every day once New Zealand's first handbrake and common sense and restraint left the cabinet. Aren't you sad now? And what have they got? Oh, that's useful. I'm going to make that stupid statement. And what have they got to show for it? Virtually nothing. Dreamland light rail schemes, mountains of expired COVID-19 kits, hundreds of millions being spent on COVID-19 and $1.2 billion on consultants, to name just some areas of fiscal irresponsibility. We know what the result has been. Rampant inflation, the loss of our best to Australia, and a Labour Party policy inflamed worsening cost of living crisis, and they have worsened it. Meanwhile, 60,000 people wait for hip and knee operations or a specialist appointment. And just to compound the impossibility of their economic thinking working now, every other party agrees to the sugar hit of 100,000 immigrants coming to this country, 7% to Auckland, and you haven't got one infrastructural asset ready for that. That'll be inflationary as well. Without the essential basic houses, health amenities, education facilities, and infrastructure to handle the burden arriving out of such unfocused immigration policy, where needed workers and specialists come second, and a consumptive number comes first. Labour is not working. New Zealand First promises to work with like-minded thinkers to introduce a mini budget before Christmas, straight after the election. We can't wait now. We can't keep spending like this we'll end up a South Seas Venezuela. Our fiscal strategy instead is to re-establish a spending cap, and for a spending cap for the 24-25 period, and focus meanwhile on the basic essential services, which is all we can now afford. Total government expenses will be capped at $165 billion, while core government expenses will be capped at $133 billion. Now, it's more than the government spent in 22-23, but it's a whole lot less than the kitchen sink Mount Mr. Robinson projects for 24-25, $19 billion less. Using Treasury's predictions, though the Met Service may be better at doing that now, New Zealand's first fiscal strategy will begin returning to New Zealand a significant surplus. We need to start paying down debt. Doing this takes the heat off interest rates and inflation, and is the single biggest thing responsible government must do to ease the cost of living burden. In 2020, when we last were in government, having to deal with the COVID pandemic, total public borrowing was $153 billion. Now, $275 billion. That is just staggering. When they were governing alone, Labour's debt is almost equal to a third of the New Zealand economy. It's not sustainable. That's why New Zealand will need a mini budget before Christmas 23. Its aim must be to get New Zealand back to surplus. And when we do get to surplus, we can ease the tax burden on hard-working Kiwis. That's being honest and being fiscally responsible, and not standing here like an Italian chef using 7-vowel words and waving your arm around like you know what you're doing. This is their first rodeo for most of them. We will reduce them core public service through redundancy or but some can stay on north and some can't. Or reassignment packages, not harsh shackings, and provision for this. Every ministry is going to have to focus on productivity. We're going to have a fire under the unnecessary regulations. And we'll announce soon how we're going to get the state-owned infrastructure going. The effects of either Labour's economic vandalism or other parties' promised tax cuts at any cost will be borne by you. These promises are so unreal, the most unreal election we've ever witnessed. Most nights, all you're seeing is somebody eating a sausage roll and the other one eating a pie. And that's passing for darn campaigning in a country that the IMF says next year is going to be only one better than Equatorial Guinea at 159. It's crisis time. New Zealand first voted for in the past to index tax rates that the John Key National Government brought it by Act, then repealed. In 2023, this Labour government opposes indexation while, the National Party's done a somersault and they think it's a good idea. Only one party on this issue has been consistent. My message to anyone with a mortgage, how much more time have I got at least 2 more terms than me, mate. Let me finish. You didn't give me the sign, but I'll finish up. I'll finish up with just saying that, to be simple, it's exports, exports, exports. It's add value to the max before any other economy gets it. Use IT, particularly with your young people, and also remember that productivity is a taxation incentivized target that we should have been doing a long, long time ago. Last thing, we're a reasonable party. We know you've got a propensity to rush off and vote for right-wing parties and win like this, but if I was you, I'd buy some insurance.